A pulpit was covered with a heavy red rock. She removed the rock, dug a large pit, then using all her life savings, she bought a large deep freezer. The freezer was placed inside the large pit she had dug. The sun was rising over the quiet village of Zawadi. Birds chirped in the tall mango trees, and the scent of fresh bread from Mama Kalu's bakery filled the air. In the middle of the village stood a small white church. It had a bell that rang every morning, calling people to pray. Just a few steps from the church lived Pastor Obasi, his wife Abeni, and their only child and daughter Adora. Adora was 12 when her story began. Her father took her to church every day and made her pray every second of the day. She had a bright smile and a large brown eyes that sparkled in the sunlight. Pastor Obasi was a strict man. He believed in rules and prayers and had no room for mistakes. Every morning, Adora had to kneel by her bed and pray for an hour. If she didn't, her father would frown and shake his head. God is watching you, Adora, Pastor Obasi would say. A good child must always follow the light. Adora grew into a very beautiful woman. She tried her best to be good. She wore long dresses and helped her mother cook. She cleaned the house and headed the choir department. She even memorized Bible verses to make her father proud. He didn't let her attend any parties or keep friends or go out. He didn't allow her to use an Android or iPhone. It was forbidden in his house. He bought her a small phone for her to only use and receive calls. He believed that if she used an Android, she might see things and make her go into the world. Adora was either in church or at home doing chores. She was the perfect daughter, but no matter what she did, Pastor Obasi would always seem to find something wrong. He wanted her to be the perfect child. You didn't sing in church today, he would say, or you missed fasting today because you were sick. That is not an excuse. But outside their house, everyone knew Adora as the perfect daughter. Men in the church would eye her and wait for the day Adora was ready to choose a spouse. Or should I say, when Pastor Obasi would say she was ready to marry. She would sing in the choir. Her sweet voice made people go into the anointing, and she would speak in tongues, winning souls for the church. But Adora knew that the life she was living wasn't meant for her. She wanted to be a singer just like Simi and Tiwa Savage. She had been listening to them on the radio on her small phone, and she loved them. She wanted to explore the world, wear beautiful clothes, have sex at will. Adora tried to talk to her father. She told him of her passion to become a singer, but Pastor Obasi had said over his dead body would she venture into the world. She tried everything to let her father know of what she wanted, but Pastor Obasi wouldn't hear of it. Only his will would stand in her life, and slowly Adora began to hate him. Deep inside, Adora felt something growing. It was like a shadow that she couldn't control. She didn't understand why, but sometimes she felt angry. Angry with her father for locking her up in this life she hated and controlling her life. She hated her mother, who couldn't do anything to stop her father. She was always angry, so angry that her hands would shake. Adora started liking a young man in the church. His name was Emeka. She wanted to talk and be close to him at all times, but Emeka always left the church early. One evening during church service, Adora wrote him a small note to meet her at the back of the church after the service. That evening, at the back of the church, Adora confessed how she felt to Emeka. She asked him to be her boyfriend, twisting her fingers shyly as she told him. But Emeka burst into a loud laugh. "I can't be your boyfriend because you look like an old woman," he teased her. "Your father's rules are funny," he said, laughing. "Do you even know what fun is?" Adora clenched her fist. Her heart raced so fast, she felt so much anger her heart could burst. Emeka told her he would never be her friend and made to walk away. but Adora couldn't take it. She ran to him and pushed him hard from the back. Emeka stumbled and fell, hitting his head hard on a hard rock. Adora saw blood gushing from his head, but she wasn't scared or remorseful. Instead, she felt relieved and all the anger in her heart disappeared. Emeka lay there, shaking violently, but she just stood there doing nothing. Instead, she looked at Emeka, smiling, and then she quietly left and returned home. Emeka was found the next morning. He was cold as ice and he wasn't breathing. He had been dead for hours. Everyone was shocked. Nobody knew what really happened to him. His mother wondered what he was doing at the back of the church. But they saw the wound on his forehead and assumed he had fell by accident and hit his head. But the dead tells no tales. After that encounter, Adora realized that she felt better when she accidentally killed Emeka. She had killed someone and gotten away with it. It felt good and she wanted to do it again. But she had to be careful so she wouldn't be caught. So she devised a plan. The church would be closed for 10 whole days. They would be hosting a yearly convention at another state. Adora didn't want to go. She pretended to be severely sick the morning they were supposed to leave. She laid in bed and covered herself with a duvet, shivering with cold. She told her father she was very sick and wouldn't be able to attend the convention. Her father trusted her and let her be, but he told her to go to the church regularly and pray. When everyone had left, Adora started work. The pulpit was covered with a heavy red rug. She removed the rug, dug a large pit, then using all her life savings, she bought a large deep freezer. The freezer was placed inside the large pit she had dug. She called an electrician to draw lights to the pit. She told them the freezer was for the holy water for the church, that no one is supposed to touch the holy water except for the pastor, so everything has to be stored under the ground to keep it holy and fresh. The men nodded, believing her at once. Then she connected the freezer. After everything, she filled up the part of the pit where there was hole to balance the ground. Then she replaced the rug. She stepped on the part where the freezer was, but it felt like the normal ground. Perfect, she told herself. With each passing day, Adora felt more suffocated. She wasn't really the church type. She only went to church to please her father. She wanted to go to clubs, parties. She wanted to wear slutty sexy clothes, but it would be a taboo to her father if she tried it. But she would make him understand that she was the boss of her own life, not him. One day, Adora wanted to know what it felt like to wear tight skimpy clothes. She secretly bought one and hid it in her room. Adora had a very beautiful body and straight beautiful legs. She had this hourglass body and a flat tummy, but all that was hidden in her long ugly gowns. That night, around 11 p.m., when everyone had gone to bed, she put on the tight skimpy clothes and stood in front of the mirror, her mouth opened in shock. She couldn't believe she was the one standing there. She looked so beautiful. And then she had an idea. She had to start doing what she wanted. Enough of her father's tyranny. First, she had to go to a club. So the next day, she bought makeups, high heels, and assorted wigs. She dressed up and stood in front of the mirror. She looked stunning. No one would believe she was Adora, the pastor's daughter. She sneaked out of the house that night and went to the club. Immediately she entered the club, all heads turned. Men flocked around her, begging to buy her drinks and food. She settled for a handsome man and soon they hit it off. She danced and drank alcohol, singing and screaming at the top of her voice with pleasure. This was the life, she thought. This is enjoyment. She had been living in hell and soon she would free herself of it, she thought, smiling happily. Soon, it was 3 a.m. She had to go back to the house as soon as possible. Her father would wake up by 4 a.m. to pray and she had to be in the house before 4. So she asked her man for the night to drive her home. When she sneaked into her room, she saw the shock of her life. She saw her father sitting on her bed. Adora almost fainted out of shock. Pastor Obasi looked at her from head to toe and screamed out in anger. "You look like a harlot," he shouted. "My own daughter, how dare you?" Her mother ran out to see what was happening. At first, she didn't know it was Adora standing there. "What are you doing?" her mother cried. "Why are you letting the devil use you?" she wailed. After that day, Adora was forbidden from leaving the house. To clean herself of any immoral sin, Adora was to fast for 30 days, only food and water once in a day. He took out all her new clothes, shoes, bags, and wigs and burnt them at the backyard. Adora was helpless, and so she had to do all her father said. After she had fasted for 30 days, her father called her one day and said, "You are getting married." Adora was lost. She didn't have any man in her life. Neither did she want to get married to anyone anytime soon. But her father told her that she would be marrying Femi, the youth pastor in the church. He had chosen him for her because of his love for God. Marrying a pastor would keep her in the way of the Lord, and Femi was the perfect match for her. He was to open another branch once they were married, so Adora would have responsibility and live her life serving the Lord. Adora wanted to scream. Instead, she ran to the church. The quiet poles and stained glass always made her feel safe. But that day, even the church couldn't calm her down. Since he wanted her to suffer, she too would make him a fool. She didn't want to get married, let alone to a pastor. She sat in the church, her anger boiling up like a hot water. Then she had an idea. She called up the man she had met in the club the other day to come to the church. She had lied to her father that she was going to the church to pray and interact with God and didn't want to be disturbed. This made her father really happy. Her boyfriend arrived at the church. When he entered, she locked all the doors, smiling at him that she didn't want anyone to disturb them. While they talked, Adora grabbed him and kissed him. The man shivered nervously, reminding her that they were in the house of the Lord. But she stripped herself naked and stood there, stark naked in front of him. She asked him to make love to her, but the man hesitated, still afraid of God. She confessed to him that she was a virgin, and then she kissed him again. They made love right there in the church. Adora felt ecstatic. She felt free. She felt like a bad girl she has always wanted to be. After they were done, they sat on the floor, talking and laughing. Then Adora brought out a pineapple juice she had brought from the house. She poured it for the young man and told him to drink to calm his nerves. The man drank it, and a few minutes later, he began to feel dizzy. He fell to the ground and went limp. He couldn't move any part of his body. Adora climbed on him, sitting on his chest. "You see," she began, "I hate my father. He keeps making me do things I don't want to do. I just want to kill him. But I love watching him make a fool of himself. He thinks he is always right, but he is not right about me. So I won't kill him. You are a man like him, so you would have to die in his place." She told him of how she killed the maker by mistake on her first time, and it felt good, and all her anger had disappeared. She wanted her anger to die down, so killing him would kill her. She quietly reached for her scarf and wrapped it around his neck, strangling him. As she strangled him, she felt this bliss within her. It gave her relief and joy to see the fear in his eyes and his breath slipping away. After she was done, she laughed in satisfaction. She dragged his body to the pulpit, opened up the large freezer, and pushed his body inside. She poured some chemicals inside the freezer to stop any smell from escaping. After she was done, she emerged from the church with her Bible clenched to her chest, looking holy and innocent. She joined the sanitation department immediately to make sure no one lifted the rock or discovered the freezer. Adora changed drastically in the days that followed. She agreed to marry the youth pastor, fasted more frequently, and was often in the church praying. After killing her club boyfriend, She didn't have or know any man again to mother whenever she felt angry with her father. So she turned her eyes on the young men in the church. She would make friends with them, seduce them, and then invite them to church for Bible study. Then she would have sex with them right there in the church, kill them, and put them in the mass grave freezer under her father's pulpit. It now became a hobby, an adventure she enjoyed, and she knew she was the daughter of the devil, sent from the pit of hell, only that she was born in the house of a man of God. It didn't take long for members to notice that young men were disappearing from the church. They launched a police complaint immediately, believing there were some gangs of men in town kidnapping men for money rituals. The police searched and investigated but couldn't find anything. Meanwhile, the men kept disappearing. Adora was always at the forefront. She would lead the prayer session every morning for the men to return alive and well. She would visit the families and pray with them for their safe return. She was known as the modern Mother Teresa. Her father was so pleased with her. She had turned over a new leaf and left worldly things behind. This made Pastor Obasi very proud. He called her into his room one night and told her he had fixed her wedding 2 weeks from that date. Her heart sank. "But Dad, that is too close. We have to..." "Don't worry about anything," he interrupted. "We will take care of everything for you. You have to get married as soon as possible so you can open up the new branch and start winning more souls for God." She smiled and hugged her father, thanking him for his love. Then she told her father she was going to the church to pray. Immediately she entered the church, she burst into a loud cry. She didn't want to get married, but what could she do? Would she have to kill her father? No! She loved watching him look like a fool, standing on dead bodies on his pulpits and preaching to all those people. She loved watching him look like a fool, thinking he created a perfect daughter. Then an idea hit her. She would kill her husband-to-be. So she invited Femi to the church that evening. When he entered, she locked all the doors, and like usual, she undressed herself and stood there stark naked before him. Femi stood up and turned his back on her, praying violently and speaking in tongues. Adora went to him and tried to seduce him, but Femi pushed him away, casting and binding the evil spirit he thought had possessed her. For the first time, Adora realized that Femi would not fall for her seduction. He was a true man of God. How come she never noticed, she thought. She put on her clothes and started crying, claiming she was in love with him and just couldn't wait to have him. Femi was moved. He went over to her and consoled her, promising her that they would be married in 2 weeks. Adora couldn't believe her plan did not work. Would she have to get married to that pastor? She would have to become a momegio, pastoring over a church and dressing like an old woman of ancient days. No, she yelled aloud. I will not marry a pastor. She would have to fight her way to get rid of Femi. It was now 2 weeks to the wedding, and Adora hadn't figured out a way to kill Femi. Desperate for a way, a night to the wedding, she called Femi to the church, insisting she had something urgently important to tell him. When he arrived, they sat inside the church. Adora poured him a glass of her pineapple juice. At first, Femi refused to drink, claiming he doesn't like sugar, but Adora urged him, emotionally blackmailing him of rejecting her when they would be married the next day. Femi laughed and took a sip, and soon he started feeling weak and fell to the ground. He had gone completely limp. Finally, I got you, Adora laughed. Jesus, you are one hell of a stubborn goat. Femi lay there, just muttering something under his breath. Adora bent over to his mouth and placed her ears on his lips to hear what he was saying. Then she burst into a loud laugh. You are praying? Or are you speaking in tongues? She laughed. Well, your prayers cannot save you right now, Pastor. Your God cannot save you because you are about to die at my hands. I don't want to marry you, yet my father keeps forcing you down my throat. Well, It's my father's fault you are about to die, so blame him and not me. In case you are wondering why I haven't killed him instead, I would love to, but I love watching him like the fool he is," she laughed. Femi did not flinch, but he kept praying. Adora got on Femi, took her scarf and strangled him. When he had stopped breathing, she dragged him to the freezer and dumped him there. The next morning was the wedding. Adora was so happy. When she got to the church, the groom was nowhere to be found. His mother went over to Adora and hugged her. "It seems like he doesn't want to marry you, my dear. His number is switched off," and Femi hardly put off his phone. Adora burst into tears, throwing herself on the ground, wailing uncontrollably. "He would have told me he didn't want to marry me. What will I do now? Where is the love of my life?" She cried and cried, throwing herself on the ground, rolling and wailing. As the church continued in commotion, a police car with a loud siren entered the church premises. Everyone wondered what the police was doing in the church. Femi alighted from the car, his neck swollen from the strangulation wound. Adora's heart sank. "No, no," she muttered. "This cannot be. I killed him." Femi told everyone what happened. He went to the pulpit and opened up the large freezer. The people saw bodies of sons and loved ones they had looked for months. While some people ran out of the church in total shock, others fainted. Pastor Obasi froze. His blood ran dry and he sank to the ground, tears rolling from his eyes. Femi walked up to Adora and looked at her in the face. "You said my God could not save me. Well, here I am. He did. After you strangled me, I woke up in that cold grave hours later, and God gave me the strength to open that fridge and crawl out. He did it to show you that He is God, and what God cannot do does not exist." Adora burst into a loud cry, cursing Femi and her father. "You did this to me. You wanted me to be your perfect daughter. I didn't want to be perfect. Yet, you refused to let me be. See what you have turned me into," she said, spitting on her father's face. Pastor Obasi sat on the ground like someone who had lost his mind, while some prayed to God to forgive Adora. Others cursed at her, praying to God to make her rot in hell for all she had done. But Adora only laughed, sticking out her tongue at them and telling them she would see them in hell. Adora was arrested that day. Men were called to vacate the dead bodies from the church. 10 dead bodies were evacuated that day from the church. People stopped going to the church, and soon the church closed down. Pastor Obasi's heart gave out due to depression, and he died of a heart attack. Femi got married to a good woman of God and went on to open his own church, which flourished. Adora's mother moved to another state to start life afresh. Adora was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. She would die in prison. The moral lesson of this story is that we should not force our will on our children, and even though we would want to guide them in the right path, we should remember that they are humans and humans can never be perfect. We should let them explore and make their own decisions. And we as children should always obey our parents and try to live in the right path. What other moral lesson did you learn from this story? Please comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until we see again next time, remember, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.